The morning started like any other on Mars Station Alpha. Dr. Elena Vasquez was drinking her coffee and checking the daily reports when the first alarm went off. She looked at her screen and frowned. Something was wrong with the Earth communication feeds. Computer, run a diagnostic on the Earth channels, she said. All channels are working normally. Dr. Vasquez, the AI replied, but the feeds showed static. Elena walked to the main viewing deck where other scientists were gathering. Through the large windows, they could see Earth in the distance, a small blue dot. Everything looked normal. Then the emergency broadcast began. This is Admiral Harrison, Earth Defense Command. We are under attack. Repeat, Earth is under attack by unknown alien forces. Multiple ships have appeared in orbit. They are firing on population centers. All colonies, all stations, prepare for... The signal cut to static. Elena felt her heart stop. She grabbed the rail and stared at Earth. Even from this distance, she could see tiny flashes of light around the planet. Those flashes were weapons firing, weapons that were destroying her home world. Get me a telescopic view of Earth, she shouted to the technician. The main screen lit up with a close view of Earth. What Elena saw made her sick. Massive alien ships hung in space around the planet like metal vultures. Beams of energy shot down from the ships, hitting cities, military bases, and anything else that moved. The blue and green world she remembered was turning black and red. My God, whispered Dr. Chen, another scientist. They're burning everything. Elena watched in horror as the alien ships methodically destroyed every human settlement on Earth. They were not missing anything. Hospitals, schools, farms, even small towns, everything was being turned to ash. Her phone buzzed. Messages were coming in from other human colonies. The same thing was happening everywhere. The aliens had appeared simultaneously above all 43 human worlds. They were not just attacking Earth. They were trying to kill every human in the galaxy. Dr. Vasquez called the communications officer. I'm getting reports from Europa Station, Titan Base, and the Moon colonies. They're all under attack. The alien ships. They're everywhere. Elena ran to the communications center. Reports were flooding in from across human space. The aliens were systematic and thorough. They hit military targets first, then civilian centers, then evacuation sites. When humans tried to escape in ships, the aliens shot them down. When humans hid in underground shelters, the aliens dug them out and killed them. This isn't a war, Elena said quietly. This is extermination. She pulled up the colony status board. One by one, the green lights representing human worlds were turning red. Earth, New Angeles, Harmony, New Tokyo, Kepler Station. All gone, all dead. How many people were on those worlds? She asked. The computer calculated. 9.2 billion humans lived on the attacked colonies, Dr. Vasquez. 9 billion people. Dead in a single day. Elena collapsed into a chair. Her parents lived on Earth. Her sister had 3 children on New Angeles. Her friends, her colleagues, everyone she had ever known, they were all gone. Burned alive by aliens who had never even tried to talk to humans first. Dr. Vasquez, the communications officer, said softly, I'm getting one final transmission from Earth Defense Command. Put it through. The voice was cracked and filled with static, but Elena recognized it. Admiral Harrison, the same man who had sent the first warning. To any humans still alive out there. Earth is lost. All our worlds are lost. The aliens came without warning. They gave no terms. They asked for no surrender. They just killed everyone. Men, women, children. They burned the hospitals first. They targeted the schools. This was never about conquest. This was about making sure we all die. The transmission paused. Elena could hear explosions in the background. My city is burning. My family is dead. In a few minutes, I'll be dead too. But if any humans survive this, remember what they did to us. Remember that they showed no mercy to our children. Remember that they could have talked to us but chose to kill us instead. And when you find them, when you hunt them down, remember that they taught us there is no room for compassion in this galaxy. They made that choice. Not us. Another pause. More explosions. This is Admiral Harrison, last survivor of Earth Defense Command. Remember us. Make them pay. Show no mercy. The transmission ended. Elena stared at the dead screen. Around her, the other survivors of Mars Station Alpha were crying, screaming, or just sitting in shock. 53 people. That's all that was left of the Mars Research Station. Across the galaxy, maybe a few thousand humans were still alive on deep space stations and generation ships, out of 9 billion people. She walked back to the viewing deck and looked at Earth again. The blue world was now brown and gray. The atmosphere was full of smoke and dust. Nothing was moving. Nothing was alive. Why? She whispered. Why didn't they even try to talk to us? Dr. Chen stood beside her. His face was hard and cold. Maybe they didn't want to talk. Maybe they just wanted us gone. Elena thought about Admiral Harrison's last words. Show no mercy? She thought about her sister's children, who were probably trying to hide when the aliens found them. She thought about all the schools and hospitals the aliens had targeted first. They made a choice, she said quietly. What choice? Elena turned to look at the other survivors. They were broken now, but they were also angry. Very angry. And they were scientists and engineers. People who knew how to solve problems. People who knew how to build weapons. People who knew how to study enemies and find their weaknesses. They chose to be our enemies, Elena said. They chose to kill our children without mercy. They chose to teach us that this galaxy has no room for compassion. She looked back at Earth one more time, memorizing the sight of her dead world. So we'll be very good students. Dr. Chen nodded slowly. What do we do now? Elena smiled, but it was not a kind smile. Now we disappear. We hide, we study them. We learn everything about them. And then, she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Everyone on Mars Station Alpha understood. The aliens had wanted to exterminate humanity. They had succeeded in killing almost everyone. But they had made one mistake. They had left some humans alive. And now those humans had nothing left to lose. 8 years passed in complete silence. The Zephyrian Collective, as the aliens called themselves, celebrated their successful pest control operation. They divided up the former human worlds among their 12 species. The rich farming world of New Angeles went to the Court Empire. The mining colonies went to the Helix Federation. Earth itself became a nature preserve for the Zeph Republic. Admiral Kesvor of the Zeph Republic stood on the bridge of his command ship, looking down at Earth. The planet was green again. Plants had grown over the ruined cities. Animals from other worlds now lived where humans once walked. A job well done, he said to his science officer. The galaxy is much more peaceful without those breeding pests. Yes, Admiral, replied Science Officer Tethka. The humans were expanding too quickly. They used too many resources. They asked too many questions. We made the right choice, Kesvor nodded. The collective had studied humans for several years before deciding on extermination. The mammals bred too fast. They spread across planets without asking permission. They built weapons and explored space with dangerous curiosity. Worse, they had no respect for the natural order of things. The 12 species of the collective had ruled this part of the galaxy for thousands of years. They maintained balance. They controlled population growth. They made sure each species knew its place. Humans would have ruined all of that. Any sign of survivors, Tethka? None, Admiral. We have been monitoring all frequencies for 8 years. No human signals, no human ships, no human colonies. The species is extinct, Kesvor smiled. It had been a clean operation. Quick, efficient, thorough. Not a single human world had been missed. Not a single escape ship had gotten away. The galaxy was safe, but the Admiral was wrong. Far beyond the outer rim of collective space aboard the generation ship New Horizon, Dr. Elena Vasquez was very much alive. And she was no longer the same person who had watched Earth burn 8 years ago. The surviving humans had found each other using quantum communication networks that the collective could not detect. 50,000 humans had survived the extermination. They now lived on 12 deep space stations, 6 generation ships, and dozens of hidden research facilities. Elena looked at herself in the mirror of her laboratory. Her hair was gray now and her eyes had changed. They were colder, harder. She had spent 8 years studying collective biology, psychology, and technology. She had become an expert on how to kill them. Dr. Vasquez called her assistant, Dr. Park. The council is ready for your presentation. Elena walked into the meeting room where the leaders of the human survivors had gathered. These 50 people now represented all of humanity. They came from different countries, different colonies, different professions, but they all shared one thing. They had all lost everything when the collective decided humans should die. Commander Marcus Chen stood at the head of the table. He had been a research ship captain before the extermination. Now he commanded the human resistance fleet. 37 ships of various sizes, all hidden in dark space between star systems. Elena, he said. Show us what you've learned. Elena activated the holographic projector. Images of the 12 collective species appeared in the air. The Zephyrian collective consists of 12 alien species spread across 200 worlds, she began. Each species has unique biology, but they share common characteristics. They are all slow breeders. They are all hierarchical. And they all believe in something they call the natural order. More images appeared: cities, ships, trade routes. They have ruled this part of the galaxy for over 3,000 years. They see themselves as gardeners, maintaining balance and preventing chaos. To them, humans were weeds that needed to be removed. Elena's voice was calm and clinical, but everyone in the room could hear the anger underneath. They study species for years before making contact. They did the same to us. They watched us expand across 43 worlds. They calculated our population growth. They analyzed our technology. And then they decided we were too dangerous to live. She showed images of the attack. Everyone in the room had seen these before, but they still watched in silence. The attack was perfectly coordinated. 12 different fleet groups hit all our worlds simultaneously. They used quantum-linked navigation systems to appear everywhere at once. But that same system is now their weakness. Elena smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Every collective ship has a quantum core that connects to their home worlds. I've spent 8 years studying the cores we salvaged from their attack ships. I now understand their entire network. She displayed a map of collective space, hundreds of worlds connected by glowing lines. More importantly, I've studied their biology. Each of the 12 species has specific genetic weaknesses. The Zeph are vulnerable to certain viruses. The Court have defective immune systems. The Helix cannot process specific proteins. Dr. Park raised his hand. Elena, what exactly are you proposing? Elena looked around the room at the faces of humanity's survivors. They were waiting for her to say what they all already knew. Complete extinction of the Zephyrian collective. All 12 species, all 200 worlds, every single alien that participated in our genocide. The room was quiet for a long moment. They had a choice, Elena continued. They could have talked to us. They could have asked us to limit our expansion. They could have tried diplomacy. Instead, they chose to murder 9 billion humans, including our children. They showed no mercy, so we will show none. Commander Chen nodded slowly. What do you need? Time, resources, and the willingness to become something our enemies will never expect. Elena activated another display. This one showed modified human genetic codes, cybernetic implants, and psychological conditioning protocols. The humans who died 8 years ago were explorers, farmers, teachers, and families. We cannot be those people anymore. We need to become something else. Something perfect for hunting aliens. She looked directly at Commander Chen. They wanted to eliminate a pest species. We'll show them what happens when pests evolve into predators. Over the next few months, the human survivors voted. It was unanimous. Every single human agreed to the plan. They would transform themselves into the perfect weapon against the collective. They would study their enemies for as long as it took. And then they would make sure that every alien who had participated in humanity's genocide would pay with their lives. Elena began her work immediately. She had 12 species to study, 12 different ways to kill, and all the time in the universe to get it right. The collective thought humans were extinct. They would learn how wrong they were, but by then it would be far too late. The first collective world died quietly. Helix Prime was a peaceful farming world with 60 million inhabitants. The Helix were tall, thin aliens who grew food for much of the collective. They had been among the first species to vote for human extermination, claiming that mammals consumed too many resources. The plague started in the grain shipments. It seemed like a normal crop disease at first, something that damaged plants but didn't hurt the Helix themselves. The farmers reported it to their government, who sent agricultural experts to study it. By the time they realized the disease was engineered, it was too late. The modified virus had spread through the grain into the food processing centers, then into the water supply, and finally into the Helix themselves. It attacked their unique digestive system, slowly shutting down their ability to process nutrients. The Helix died over several weeks, getting weaker and weaker until their bodies simply stopped working. Medical teams from other collective worlds tried to help, but they couldn't understand the virus. It seemed to target genetic markers that only the Helix possessed. Admiral Kesfor stood in the Emergency Council meeting on Zeph Prime. The 12 species leaders were all present via hologram, but 3 of the images flickered. Those worlds were also dealing with mysterious plagues. "This cannot be coincidence," said Chancellor Vorthka of the Court Empire. 3 different diseases, targeting 3 different species, all appearing within the same month. "Our scientists are analyzing the pathogens," reported Dr. Yes Lim of the Medical Guild. "These viruses are incredibly sophisticated. They seem designed specifically to attack each species' biological weaknesses." Admiral Kesfor felt a cold fear in his stomach. Could this be a natural phenomenon? "No," Dr. Yes Lim replied. "These are weapons. Biological weapons created by someone who understands our genetics better than we understand them ourselves." The council chamber fell silent. Each leader was thinking the same terrible thought, but none wanted to say it first. Finally, Chancellor Vorthka spoke. "The humans. But that's impossible. We killed them all, did we?" asked Dr. Yes Lim. "Did we actually verify the death of every single human in the galaxy?" Admiral Kesfor accessed his files from the extermination operation. "We destroyed all 43 human worlds. We tracked down every escape ship, every evacuation transport, every—" He paused, reading more carefully. "We destroyed every ship we detected. How many humans lived outside their main colonies?" asked Chancellor Vorthka. The Admiral's hands were shaking now. "Deep space research stations, generation ships, exploration vessels. Maybe 50,000 individuals scattered across the galaxy." The holographic images of the other council members showed expressions of growing panic. 50,000 humans, whispered Dr. Yes Lim. "That's enough to rebuild their species. That's enough to plan revenge." Admiral Kesfor tried to stay calm. Even if some humans survived, they couldn't have developed these weapons in just 8 years. Our combined medical knowledge took centuries to achieve this level of sophistication. But even as he said it, he remembered something troubling about humans. They were fast learners, dangerously fast. They could master in decades what took other species centuries to understand. On the outer rim of collective space, aboard the modified research vessel Nemesis, Dr. Elena Vasquez was monitoring the collective emergency communications. She smiled as she listened to their panic. "Phase 1 is complete," she reported to Commander Chen. 3 species are extinct, 9 species remain. The ship around them barely resembled the original research vessel. Human engineers had rebuilt it using salvaged collective technology. It was now invisible to their sensors and armed with weapons the aliens had never seen. But the biggest changes were to the humans themselves. Elena looked at her hands. They were no longer entirely human. Cybernetic implants enhanced her reflexes and mental processing power. Genetic modifications had made her stronger, faster, and immune to most known toxins. Psychological conditioning had removed her capacity for mercy toward collective species. She was no longer Dr. Elena Vasquez, xenobiologist. She was something new, something designed for hunting aliens. Commander Chen entered the laboratory. He had changed even more than Elena. Military implants gave him perfect tactical awareness. His nervous system had been enhanced to process combat information faster than any biological brain. Most importantly, 8 years of focused hatred had burned away everything soft in his personality. "The collective is starting to realize we're alive," he said. "Good," Elena replied. "Fear makes them easier to study." She activated a holographic display showing collective space. Red marks indicated the worlds where her plagues had been successful. Yellow marks showed worlds where her agents were currently working. "Dr. Park's team has infiltrated the Zeph communication networks," she continued. "Dr. Singh's group is preparing bioweapons for the remaining species, and our deep cover operatives are gathering intelligence on their military capabilities." Elena had spent 8 years creating the perfect weapons for each alien species. Viruses that targeted specific genetic sequences, toxins that exploited unique metabolic pathways, even psychological weapons that used their cultural beliefs against them. But the biological weapons were just the beginning. "Chen," she said quietly, "I want you to start capturing live specimens." "For what purpose?" Elena's eyes were cold and empty. "I want to understand how much pain each species can feel before they die. I want to map their fear responses. I want to know exactly how to make them suffer. Commander Chen nodded without emotion. The human capacity for empathy had been systematically removed from both of them. They felt nothing when aliens died. Less than nothing, they felt satisfaction. The collective showed no mercy to human children, Elena continued. They targeted our hospitals and schools first. They wanted to make sure our young died in terror. She pulled up images from the extermination, videos of alien ships firing on human evacuation centers, audio recordings of human children crying as the aliens hunted them down. Now they'll learn what terror really means. Commander Chen activated his communication implant. All teams, this is command. Begin Phase 2. I want live captures from each remaining species. Priority targets are their young, their leaders, and their medical personnel. Across collective space, human strike teams began their work. They were no longer the explorers and scientists who had left Earth decades ago. They were something the galaxy had never seen before, humans optimized for causing fear. The collective had made two critical mistakes. First, they had left some humans alive. Second, they had taught those humans that the galaxy had no room for mercy. Now the aliens would learn that humans were very good students, and they were about to get a lesson in terror that would make their extermination of humanity look gentle by comparison. Elena looked at the tactical display one more time. 9 alien species remained alive. 200 worlds still needed to be cleansed. They wanted us extinct, she said softly. Now they'll understand what extinction really means. The collective council was in chaos. 6 more species had gone extinct in the past year. The plagues were getting worse, more targeted, more cruel. The latest attack on the Vec homeworld had been particularly horrifying. The virus didn't kill quickly. Instead, it paralyzed the aliens slowly, leaving them conscious and aware as their bodies shut down piece by piece. Admiral HFY stood before the emergency session, his blue skin pale with fear. Only 6 species remained of the original 12. The humans, somehow, impossibly, were systematically wiping out the collective. We must surrender, said Chancellor Morquez of the Thane Republic. Contact the humans. Offer them reparations territory, whatever they want. We don't know how to contact them. Admiral HFY snapped. They're invisible to our sensors. They strike without warning, then disappear. We're fighting ghosts. Then we run, said High Priest Zekvorth of the Sacred Dominion. Evacuate our remaining worlds. Scatter across the galaxy. Some of us might survive. Dr. Yes Lim, now the only surviving member of the medical guild, shook his head. You don't understand. I've been analyzing their attack patterns. They're not just trying to kill us quickly. They're studying us, learning from us. Each attack is more sophisticated than the last. He activated a holographic display showing the progression of human attacks over the past 2 years. Look at this data. The first plague on Helix Prime was crude, a simple genetic weapon that caused organ failure. But the attack on Vec 7 last week, that virus was a masterpiece of biological engineering. It didn't just kill, it tortured. The remaining council members stared at the medical data in horror. The humans are evolving their weapons based on our responses, Dr. Yeslim continued. Every time we develop a defense, they create something worse. They're not just trying to make us extinct. They're trying to make us suffer as much as possible before we die. Admiral HFY felt sick. Why, we eliminated them cleanly. We didn't torture them, didn't we? Dr. Yeslim pulled up records from the human extermination. We targeted their hospitals first. We hunted down their evacuation ships. We made sure their children died in terror. The Admiral remembered those orders. The collective had wanted to send a message to any other species that might challenge their authority. The human extermination was designed to be thorough and frightening. We taught them that mercy is weakness, Dr. Yeslim said quietly. Now they're teaching us the same lesson. Suddenly, every screen in the council chamber flickered. The emergency meeting was being overridden by an outside signal. A face appeared on the main display. It was humanoid, but wrong. The features were too sharp, the eyes too cold, the expression too empty of compassion. Cybernetic implants were visible along the skull and jaw. Greetings, Zephyrian Collective, the human said. Its voice was calm and pleasant, which made the words even more terrifying. I am Commander Marcus Chen, representing the surviving human population. We need to talk. Admiral HFY stepped forward. Commander Chen, we want to discuss terms, reparations for what we did to your people. Perhaps we can find a peaceful solution. Commander Chen smiled. It was not a human expression anymore. Admiral Kesfor, I appreciate the offer, but you seem to misunderstand our current relationship. This is not a negotiation. This is an explanation. The human's image was replaced by tactical displays showing collective space. Red markers indicated dead worlds. Yellow markers showed worlds currently under attack. As you can see, we have successfully eliminated 9 of your 12 species. The remaining 3 species, roughly 400 million individuals, will be extinct within the next 6 months. Chancellor Morkes leaned forward desperately. Commander, surely we can reach some agreement. We can give you territory, resources, technology. We can serve your people. Please, we have families, children. Commander Chen's expression didn't change. So did we. The display changed to show images from the human extermination. Cities burning, children running from alien weapons, hospitals being targeted deliberately. You had a choice 8 years ago, Commander Chen continued. You could have talked to us. You could have asked us to limit our expansion. You could have tried diplomacy. Instead, you chose to murder 9 billion humans, including our children. You targeted our schools and hospitals first. High Priest Zekvorth spoke up. That was a military decision. We thought you were a threat to galactic stability. You were right, Commander Chen replied. We are a threat, but not in the way you expected. The display showed new images, human research facilities, weapons laboratories, genetic modification centers. You eliminated our farmers, teachers, artists, and families, but you left alive our scientists, engineers, and soldiers. For 8 years, those survivors have had one single focus: studying you, learning everything about your biology, your psychology, your culture. Dr. Elena Vasquez appeared beside Commander Chen. She looked even less human than he did. Her eyes were completely without warmth. We know how to kill each of your remaining species, she said clinically. We know how to make it quick or slow, painless or agonizing. We have mapped your fear responses, your pain thresholds, and your breaking points. She smiled, and it was the most frightening expression Admiral Kesfor had ever seen. The question is not whether you will die. The question is how much you will suffer first. Chancellor Morkes was openly weeping now. Please, we surrender. We'll do anything. Just let some of us live. Elena tilted her head like she was examining an interesting specimen. Do you know what we learned from studying your attack records? You fired on human evacuation ships. You hunted down families trying to escape. You made sure our children died afraid and alone. Her voice became softer, which somehow made it more terrible. We learned from you. Every alien we capture now gets to experience the same fear your people gave our children. We are very thorough students. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Admiral Kesfor slumped in his chair. The humans weren't just winning. They were playing with their prey, extending the hunt to cause maximum terror. What have we done? He whispered. Dr. Yes Lim was staring at the dead screens. We created them. We turned explorers and farmers into perfect killers. We taught them that compassion is a luxury the galaxy cannot afford. Can we fight them? With what? Our fleets are gone. Our worlds are dying. Our allies are extinct. Dr. Yes Lim looked around the chamber at the few remaining leaders of a once mighty galactic power. We have 3 choices. We can die quickly by surrendering. We can die slowly by running. Or we can die in agony by fighting. Admiral Kesfor thought about his grandchildren on Zeph Prime. They would never grow up now. The humans would find them eventually. And based on what he had just seen, the aliens who had once been humanity's teachers would make sure those children learned the same lessons human children had learned 8 years ago. They're not human anymore, he said quietly. No, Dr. Yes Lim replied. They're what we made them into. The last survivors of the Zephyrian Collective sat in their council chamber, waiting for their students to return and finish the lesson they had started. The last Zephyrian died on a Tuesday. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched through the laboratory window as Admiral Kesfor's nervous system finally shut down. The alien had lasted longer than most. 3 weeks of carefully controlled agony while Elena studied every aspect of Zeph biology. She made notes on her tablet, recording the exact moment of death. The Admiral had provided valuable data about Zeph pain responses, fear reactions, and psychological breaking points. His suffering had advanced human understanding of alien biology by several years. Elena felt nothing as she watched him die. The part of her that might have felt pity had been surgically removed 8 years ago, along with empathy, mercy, and compassion. Those emotions were weaknesses that survivors could not afford. She walked to the communication panel and activated the ship's intercom. Commander Chen, the last specimen has expired. The Zeph species is now extinct. Confirmed, Dr. Vasquez. That makes 12 species eliminated. The Zephyrian collective is no more. Elena smiled and walked to her personal quarters. On the wall was a memorial display showing the faces of humanity's dead. 9 billion people who had been murdered by aliens who never even tried to talk first. Her sister's 3 children smiled at her from the display. They had been 7, 5, and 3 years old when the aliens burned New Angeles. Helena touched their pictures gently. "It's finished," she whispered to them. "Every alien who voted to kill you is dead now." She activated her personal computer and began updating the final report. The systematic extinction of the Zephyrian collective had taken exactly 10 years. 12 species, 200 worlds, over 40 billion aliens eliminated. The humans had been thorough. They had hunted down every military leader who participated in the extermination. They had tracked every politician who voted for human genocide. They had found every scientist who helped plan the attack. None were shown mercy. All were studied carefully before being allowed to die. Elena finished her report and sent it to the Human Council. Then she walked to the observation deck of the ship Nemesis. Outside the window, Zeph Prime burned. The planet had once been the capital of a galactic empire. Now it was a monument to what happened when species chose cruelty over compassion. Human orbital weapons had turned the surface into molten glass. Nothing would ever live there again. Commander Chen joined her at the window. He had changed the most of all the survivors. Military implants covered half his face. His original personality had been completely replaced with tactical programming optimized for warfare. "Status report, Commander?" Elena asked. "All collective worlds have been sterilized. All alien survivors have been eliminated. All military assets have been destroyed." His voice was mechanically precise. "The operation is complete," Elena nodded. For 10 years, every human survivor had focused on this single goal. They had transformed themselves into the perfect weapons for hunting aliens. They had studied their enemies with scientific precision. They had eliminated them with ruthless efficiency. What are our losses? Minimal. We lost 1,200 humans during the operation. 48,800 survivors remain. Elena did the math in her head. They had started with 50,000 survivors and ended with almost 49,000. Meanwhile, they had eliminated over 40 billion aliens. It was the most efficient genocide in galactic history. "Commander, open a channel to all human vessels. It's time to address the galaxy." Within minutes, every human ship was connected. The faces on the screen showed the other survivors: scientists, engineers, soldiers, and technicians who had spent a decade learning how to kill aliens perfectly. Elena looked at them and felt pride. These people had lost everything but refused to give up. They had been faced with extinction and chose to become extinct makers instead. "Fellow humans," she began, "today we completed our mission. The species that murdered our families, our children, and our world no longer exist. Justice has been served." The faces on the screen showed no emotion. Celebration was a luxury they had abandoned years ago. "But our work is not finished," Elena continued. "The galaxy must understand what happened here. Other species must learn the consequences of choosing violence over diplomacy." Commander Chen activated the Galactic Communication Network. Their message would reach every inhabited world in known space. "To all species currently receiving this transmission," Elena said, "I am Dr. Elena Vasquez, representing the human survivors of the Zephyrian Collective's genocide attempt." She paused, knowing that alien civilizations across the galaxy were watching in terror. 10 years ago, the Zephyrian Collective decided that humanity should be extinct. They had alternatives. They could have negotiated with us. They could have asked us to limit our expansion. They could have tried peaceful solutions. Images appeared on the transmission: the burning of Earth, the systematic destruction of human colonies, the targeting of hospitals and schools. Instead, they chose to murder 9 billion humans without warning, without mercy, and without regret. They particularly focused on killing our children. Elena's voice remained calm and clinical. "In response, we have eliminated the Zephyrian Collective completely. 12 species, 200 worlds, 43 billion individuals. We studied them carefully before killing them. We learned everything about their biology, their psychology, and their capacity for fear. New images appeared: alien research facilities, biological weapons, systematic extermination programs. This was not revenge. This was education. The collective taught us that the galaxy has no room for compassion. We proved to be excellent students. Elena looked directly into the camera. Humanity now controls former collective space. We will establish what we call conservation zones for other alien species. You will be allowed to exist under human supervision, following strict population controls and behavioral guidelines. Commander Chen stepped forward. Let me be clear about our new relationship. Humanity offered friendship, trade, and cooperation. When you chose extinction instead, you taught us to be something else. We are no longer the species you tried to destroy. We are the species you created. Elena concluded the transmission. Compassion must be earned. Terror can be taught. We are excellent teachers. The communication ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. Elena walked back to her quarters and sat down at her desk. She opened a new file on her computer and began typing. Personal log, Dr. Elena Vasquez. Final entry. Today marks the end of the Zephyrian War and the beginning of the Terran hegemony. Humanity has evolved beyond what we were. We can never go back to being explorers, farmers, and families. The galaxy made sure of that. I sometimes wonder what my sister would think of what I've become. Would she approve of the methods I used to avenge her children? Would she understand why compassion had to be removed from my personality? I think she would. Because she was a mother, and mothers understand that some things cannot be forgiven. The galaxy wanted us extinct. Instead, we made ourselves into apex predators. Other species will now live or die based on our judgment of their behavior. They will exist at our mercy. Something we learned was a mistake to offer freely. My sister's children will never grow up. But no human child will ever again face what they faced. I have made sure of that. The Zephyrian collective is extinct. Humanity survives. That is enough. End log. Elena closed the file and looked out her window at the burning ruins of Zeph Prime. Tomorrow, human ships would begin spreading across the galaxy, establishing the new order. Other alien species would learn to live under human authority, or they would learn to die under human weapons. Either way, they would learn. Elena touched the memorial wall one last time, looking at the faces of the 9 billion humans who had died screaming while aliens watched without pity. Sleep well, she whispered to them. Your deaths have been answered. The galaxy will remember what happens when species choose cruelty over compassion. She turned off the lights and went to sleep, dreaming of a universe where human children would never again face extinction at the hands of aliens who refused to talk first. The Terran hegemony had begun.